pass out a cookie?
No, baby.
No, not yet.
Okay, so tonight and next week we are going to be doing a mini series where we'll be talking about identity, and we'll just give you guys time to respond, kind of like altar call. So my title for tonight is "I Am Who You Say I Am," and there's a song by Hillsong, "I Am Who You Say I Am." We'll probably play that tonight. So at my school, I'm an RA. And to you non-college people, RA is resident advisor or assistant. What it basically means is I kind of like help the residents on my floor. I supervise them, and we have these things called I-Convo, which are intentional conversation where I have to meet with all of my residents one-on-one, like 2 times in a semester, and we had to talk about how they're doing, about their school, and then depending on the talk, we'll have a specific thing that I have to ask them. So in the fall, we had an I-Convo, and it was about social identity. Can someone tell me what social identity is? Social identity, anyone? Take a guess? Azab?
I can also the psychology term I'm learning in class.
Okay.
Social identity is the identity you develop for yourself around 2 years old and older, just by how you act and like how you describe yourself, how you see yourself.
Okay. Close, but I'll take it. So it is how you define yourself, but social identity is how society defines you. That would be personal identity, how you see yourself. So in social identity, there are these 8 small parts that are race, age, orientation, nationality, gender, ability, religion, and class. All of these, they make up for what social identity is. And we don't really talk about them just because they're a very secular concept, but you can use them anywhere. So for me, my identity is first in God. Period. Yes, like my social identity is like Black, African woman, blah, 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 blah. But none of those matter. When I look in the mirror, which do I think about first? I think, yeah, I'm a child of God first. So now, what does that mean? What does that look like? Here's the thing. If you have a question about anything, always look in the Word. Always. And I'm going to talk about Peter today just because he was a mess. Peter was a mess, but he was a great mess. We love Peter, don't we? Yeah, we love Peter. So someone tell me a few things that he did. What did Peter do? We read our Bible, we should know. He walked on water, okay. He was a fisher, okay. Anyone else? He did a lot.
He preached on the day of Pentecost.
He preached on the day of Pentecost, right? Yes.
He said no to Jesus.
He denied Jesus 3 times. Oh. Anything else? Anything else? Okay, that was good. Yeah, so Peter, he cut off a man's ear. He denied Jesus. He identified who Jesus was. He preached on the day of Pentecost. He was a fisherman. And he took his eye off Jesus while walking on the water. Whew. So he had his good moments and he had his not so good moments. But the thing that pops out to me about Peter is he left everything to follow Jesus, to be with Jesus, to identify with Jesus. So in Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 and 20, who wants to read it? Go ahead, sir.
I gotta find it.
Go ahead, find it. Who wants to beat him? Olivia, go.
I don't have my phone.
Oh, boo. You guys always have your phone.
Alright, so what is it?
Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 through 20.
I'll look it up.
You look it up.
I don't read it.
Why?
Chapter 4, right?
Yep.
Verses 18 to 20.
Yep.
And walking by the sea of Galilee,
Galilee.
Galilee, he saw 2 brethren, Simon who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, Come ye after me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left the nets and followed him.
That's good. Thank you. So that is a quick version of the first disciple story. But we know Peter was a fisherman. And in the detailed story, Jesus says, cast your nets into the deep, and they get a lot of fishes, and Peter's amazing. He's like, oh my gosh, who is this man? We got so many fishes. And so Peter, he identified himself by his work. He said he likes to fish. He catches fish to provide, to live. And if he's having a bad day like that day, he literally could not catch fishes. I wonder if he thought, if I can't catch fish, that means I'm a bad fisher. Like, I would think that. And then Jesus calls him. Jesus says, leave everything and follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. From that, and looking at the things that happened to Peter, he no longer identified with his trade, but with the one who called him. If Peter failed at fishing that day, his family would starve and they would be broke. Like, broke. But Peter failed Jesus so many times, like so many times. The man messed up. But still, Jesus called him. Jesus looked for him. In Mark chapter 16 and in John 21, Jesus is looking for Peter after his resurrection. And Peter, he went back to fishing. He said, I'm going to go back to what I used to know before Jesus, because that's when I'm comfortable. That's what I did. He went back to fishing. And Jesus calls him again. When you fail God, don't go back to the old ways, because he's going to follow you. Like, he's going to hunt you down. Like, you're going to go back into your sin. But he's like, no, I already called you. I already identified you. Come back to me. So Peter denied Jesus. But Jesus, he calls for him. And he instructs him, hey, if you love me, follow my sheep. And Peter preaches on the day of Pentecost, as we know in Acts chapter 2. Peter was no longer identified by what he did, but by who his God is. As a child of God, no matter the failure, the rejection, the fear, whatever it is, it does not define us. Jesus still calls for us. He still looks for us. He loves us. Peter now identified with Jesus. He lived like Jesus. He made other disciples. When Jesus saw Peter again, he didn't look back on, oh, you denied me, you're a sinner. No, he reminded him of what he called him to be, a fisher of men. As many of us, we get so caught up in perfection and performing. But let me speak for myself. Me, Chaya Lugano, I get so caught up in trying to measure up and trying to do this and do that and be here and be there. And it's something that's just like God has been working in me. And in all of this performing and trying to be Miss Perfect and performing to be a child of God, he's just wanting me to just be his daughter, just be his child. I'm not child, I'm a student, say my leader, youth teacher, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm just child. I'm just a child of God. And what that looked like for me was finding rest in him, was finding my confidence in him, was finding my strength in God. When I look in the mirror, I see a child that is loved by God. I see someone who's learning in his word, who's being in his word. So maybe another day you can look into more characters who identified with Jesus, who identified themselves by who God called them to be. In Psalms chapter 139, verse 14 says, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. And what does that mean? Everything I am is in him. So we're going to just take a moment to just pray, and listen. I feel like we do a lot of talking with God, but we don't do enough of listening, of training our ears to just listen. And we're going to pray music, but it's on my phone.